Hello everyone and welcome back to another installment of A Nest for Celeste, a story about art, inspiration, and the meaning of home, written and illustrated by Henry Cole and published by Catherine Tagan Books, an imprint of HarperCollins Publisher. So we just left our story, right, at chapter 27. Celeste was in the room with Lafayette, the osprey, and Mr. Audubon had just come back in to try drawing Lafayette again, right? So let's see what happens next. Chapter 28, Lafayette Strikes a Pose. Celeste once again climbed up to the bed rail and began gnawing at the leather tie. She stopped for a moment. "Look," she said, "I've got an idea. You're going to think it's a bit odd, but please trust me." "Okie dokie, Sugar Plum, I trust you. What's the idea?" "When Monsieur Audubon returns, he's going to sketch you again, correct?" "Correct." "And he's going to try over and over and get very frustrated, correct?" "Correct." "And he's going to try and capture your beauty with pencil and paper, correct?" "Correct." "And if he doesn't get it right, you may end up stuffed and pinned, correct?" "I prefer not to think about that, if you don't mind, Peach Blossom." Celeste giggled. "Well, so you're going to need to help him." "Come again?" "Pose. Be yourself, but pose. Help him out." "Help him out? He's got me tied up here like a prisoner, and you want me to help him out? Would you do it for me?" "Well, what'll I do, darling?" queried the osprey. "Jump up and down? Clamor like a parakeet? I'm new at this, you know." "Pretend that you're on top of the tallest sycamore tree you can think of," said Celeste, hardly daring to whisper. "Like you're just about to scream out across the river, wings up. Look excited, look dangerous, look alive." Celeste pondered for a moment. Then he raised his wings and opened his beak as if to call out. "The back wing up, the wing in front down a bit," directed Celeste. "You've got to be pulling my leg. Why in the world would I do this?" "Hold it right there," whispered Celeste. "That's it. Don't move a feather." The osprey froze in place. "Like this? You sure? I feel ridiculous." "You look great. This is going to be perfect." "He's going to think I'm about to attack." As if on cue, the heavy tread of Mr. Audubon's boots could be heard climbing the stairs, then walking down the hallway. "Shh! He's coming back. Don't move," squeaked Celeste as she scampered to a hiding place. The boots turned into the studio doorway. "Mon Dieu, my God," Audubon gasped, staring at the osprey. "C'est ça, parfait. Toi, le beau spécimen." Means this is it, perfect. You, the beautiful specimen, right? You are magnificent. He stared for nearly a minute, then grabbed a large piece of watercolor paper and a handful of pencils and began to sketch. Then, there in front of her, Celeste watched as Lafayette's body and wings began to form on the paper. Only an outline at first, but feathers, streaks, spots, and other details soon followed. Audubon's pencil raced in every direction. His eyes, bright with excitement, studied the bird's every feather. He drew a gaping beak, open as though screaming across a valley, and wings outstretched in flight. I'll put a fish in your talons, like you've just pulled it from the Mississippi," he said out loud. Next, out came a box of watercolors. So here we see Monsieur Audubon, and he's drawing a picture of our friend Lafayette, right? We see Lafayette's feet on the bed. So there's his picture. Celeste couldn't help herself as she crawled out from behind the paint box. Mesmerized, she watched Audubon use a variety of soft brushes and an old shaving mug filled with water as he transformed the pencil outline into an osprey full of chocolate brown and tawny cream. A golden yellow eye blazed fiercely. He added a background sky of cool blues. At last, the artist sat back. He stretched his long arms and smiled at the osprey. Merci, my friend, he said, and he lay on the bed, asleep within several ticks of a clock. Lafayette blinked and lowered his wings. He glanced over at the paint box lid. Celeste smiled approvingly. Chapter 29. Ah, you're almost there, Celeste, whispered Lafayette encouragingly. Just a little bit more. Celeste felt her jaw muscles ache. Gnawing tough leather was not easy. A little more, just a little more. Yes, that's it. The heavy leather strap fell to the floor and Lafayette leaped with a flap of wings. They glanced at the bed. Audubon was snoring peacefully. Pumpkin pie, Lafayette said. You are one good friend to have around, my oh my. But does this feel good? Thank you, darling, from the bottom of my ever-loving heart. You're welcome, she said, rubbing her swollen jaw, right? Her jaw hurts from chewing on all that leather. If I can ever be of any service, don't hesitate to give a shout. Anytime, day or night, I'm forever obliged. Lafayette gave a little bow. Would you come visit me? Queried Celeste. Well, sugar lamb, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on you, promised the osprey. He nodded at his wing. But it may be a while before I come for a visit. It's a dangerous world out there. Now you be careful, you hear? You be careful too, Lafayette, Celeste smiled. And with that, the osprey flapped to the open window, tested his lame wing, leaped joyfully into the air, and was gone. That was a short chapter, chapter 29, so we'll continue reading chapter 30 as well today. Chapter 30, A Discovery. I wonder what Celeste is going to discover. Celeste decided that until Joseph returned, the safest place to be was in the attic, where the knothole entrance kept out the menacing inhabitants of the house. The nest she made in the old feather mattress was cozy, safe, and quiet. She decided to explore her attic home a bit. Scaling to the summit of the mountain of mattresses, she studied her new domain. Across the way, next to the window, which was missing a pane, a piece of the window, right? She saw another mountain, a draped sheet. And we saw that on the first page, right? There's the other mountain. Across from the mountain of mattresses, there's our other mountain, which is covered in a draped sheet. Celeste crawled under the old sheet and blinked. In the musty shadows, she saw, or did she see, a tiny mouse-sized chair? And was that a miniature tasseled pillow? Amid a confused jumble of chair legs and patterned fabrics, Celeste could discern what looked like to be a complete and perfect dining room, made for a mouse. There was a tiny, ornate picture frames, carved and beveled, holding tiny pictures, a still life, a portrait, a country landscape. Clustered around a tiny dining table were several chairs, each with a needlepoint seat. Celeste made her way past a corner cabinet with glass doors, She puffed on the pane and wiped it gingerly with her paw. Inside, she saw plates and cups and saucers, pieces from a blue and white china set. Opening a cabinet door below, she found what looked to be a tablecloth. She passed through a doorway and entered another room. The light was a little bit better here, and she noted the lavender striped wallpaper. "This must be the living room," she whispered. A beautiful sofa, just her size, covered in maroon velvet, lay on its back. 2 chairs and several small tables were also overturned. A fireplace and mantel had been artfully painted on one wall. Over it was the oval portrait of a young girl. Her face looked familiar. A set of stairs in the corner of the living room led to another story above. Celeste climbed the stairs and tiptoed her way into a bedroom. As with the rooms below, the contents here were also tossed about and covered in dust. A small bed and nightstand, an oval hooked rug, and a ladder back chair painted orange. A wash basin and pitcher lay on the floor. Next to the bed was another door. Celeste passed reverently into the last room. Through the dim light, she saw an enormous 4-poster bed covered with a soft pink blanket. 2 satin pillows were trimmed in tiny lace ribbon. Beside the bed was a small table draped with a lace cloth. Against one wall stood a wooden armoire with flowers and vines painted up the sides and on each door. A large overstuffed chair sat perched on a small rug. The walls were covered in a flowery wallpaper, making Celeste feel as though she were in a magical garden. "This is the most beautiful room that has ever been," she murmured to herself. The bed looked comfy and inviting. Celeste ran her hand along the soft blanket and then crawled up, right? She's all nice and cozy. The bed was stuffed with cotton balls, and she sank blissfully into it, head plopped on a silk pillow. "I've found home," she said to herself. "There is nowhere else I'd rather be." She smiled and fell asleep. And indeed, it was a lovely nest for a mouse. Okay, we're going to stop here. Celeste has just found a little tiny mouse house. I wonder if it's a house meant for mice or if it's a house meant for something else. We'll continue reading this tomorrow for chapter 1, house cleaning, okay? I look so forward to seeing what happens to Celeste and her new house. All right, boys and girls, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I look so forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.